like almost crying already because this is what community looks like. Okay, I'm actually crying. First of all, I'd like to thank the advisory board and the AQC staff, Gerald and Cindy. I'm so honored to be receiving this award. I feel like it's only been 3 years since I was standing in the back as a fresh intern, watching all of the other people, the 2013 winners, undergraduate, grad, everyone talk about all the things that they've done, and even some of the people sitting up here in the front row. And I remember feeling like, wow, they're so amazing, they love the community so much, they're so passionate, and I hope that I'm like that too, and hopefully I am. Now that it's 3 years later, I wanted to thank, I have a long list here. I wanted to thank my LSP family, the Vang Student Union, I can't even, the Asian American, the AQC staff, just basically the Asian American community who have been my friends, my mentors, and my family here at Stanford. And of course I'd like to thank my family. My sister came and surprised me today, showed up at my door and said, hey, I'm here, I'm going to come to the awards. And I was like, oh, why? And to my aunt and uncle who, you know, they're like the only family I have that live near here. They've been so helpful and so wonderful, and I wouldn't have been able to do it without them. And I would also like to thank the Hmong community. As a Hmong American, my Hmong identity has really influenced the way that I understand community. In Hmong, there's a song titled Yam Hmong Jilu Hmong, Natu Yolu Hmong, which means if Hmong people don't love each other, who will they love, or who will love them? As a Hmong daughter of Hmong refugees, I grew up learning about the importance of clanship. The importance of waking up at 6 in the morning on a Saturday to go over to your extended family member's house and help them with their daughter's wedding, because eventually one day you'll need them to come over to help you too when you get married or someone in your family gets married. This idea of being interdependent, needing each other, is so important to the Hmong community because we have a long history from being mountain people in Laos to Hmong refugees in the US. This idea that we need each other to be successful and to thrive is a lesson that I've grown up knowing and internalizing, and something that I have brought with me to Stanford. Last year, during the Listen to the Silence conference, as one of the co-chairs, me and Annie, we decided we wanted to do a Breaking the Silence workshop to facilitate a way for people to come together and regroup and think about all the narratives they had heard throughout the day. Because when you go to one of the only Asian American issues conferences on the West Coast, and you're hearing all these stories about your people, other ethnicities, there's so much to think about, and we thought we'd like to provide this space. And in that moment, I remember feeling very tender and thinking, wow, this is what community looks like. When people are able to reflect on post-it notes or through spoken word about all of their stories they've heard that day, what touched them, and their own personal narrative. It's just such an amazing thing to see and hear. People were asking questions like, what does the future of the Asian American community look like? How do I have compassion for myself and my community? These are questions in which we don't really have spaces on campus or off campus, anywhere where we can ask. And that is why I'm so happy that we have places like the AQC and student organizations where we can come together and talk about these things. In those 45 minutes during the Breaking the Silence conference, I saw people being attentive. They were listening to our community members and reflecting on how their personal narratives are interwoven into the narratives of our community. If we think about our community as a story, then each of our individual stories are a part of that story cloth. As a community that represents 23% of the Stanford undergraduate population, we encompass a lot of experiences. The Asian American experience is not a homogeneous one. We are a collective community of diverse cultures and traditions, and When we are listening and trying to understand the struggles of our community members, we can begin to see the similarities in our histories and our struggles and provide spaces where folks can explore their individual identities as Asian Americans. Our narratives are dependent on understanding the narratives of each other. The lesson of interdependence, the one that my parents taught me growing up, the one that I carry with me all the time, is something that I always revisit, and I would like to encourage everyone else to think about as well. As a community member, we should have compassion, we should have empathy for others, and we should truly listen, because when we celebrate other people's narratives and our personal narratives, we can celebrate our community and have spaces like this where we are celebrating our community. I'm so thankful for the mentors, family members, and friends who have kept me sane and pushed me to be critical about everything that I do. I would particularly like to thank Gerald Adamos and Warren Chang for being the two mentors that would always be available for me to go and sit in their office and talk about all of my worries, my struggles, my communities, what I'm concerned about. And they would sit there and talk to me, and they're the main reason why I even know how to be a community builder. Thank you.
Thanks, Gaozong, for your leadership and commitment to creating a stronger community.